I had been living in this neighborhood for years, long before the HOA ever came around. The peace here was something I'd grown attached to until the day it all changed. I was just a guy trying to mind my own business, living in a house that I loved, surrounded by neighbors who, for the most part, kept to themselves. But then came Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of our neighborhood, the HOA president, who decided the way things were going to be. And you know what? It wasn't just about keeping things tidy anymore. It was about control. It all started with a little piece of land, a strip of overgrown land that no one had paid much attention to for years. It wasn't even on the maps, not really. But that was the land Karen's road passed through. The one she and the rest of the HOA members used every single day to get in and out of their neighborhood. I didn't think much of it until one day I got curious. I dug through old county records, zoning charts, and scan maps, and that's when I found something odd. That little strip of land wasn't part of the HOA at all. It was privately owned, still classified as agricultural buffer land, and it was still under a name I hadn't heard in years: Harold B. Cormarmac. Old Man Cormarmac. I remembered him from my childhood, selling eggs at a roadside stand. He used to own a big farm that had been sold off to developers long ago. I didn't know if he was still around, but I figured I'd give it a shot. So I sent him a letter, waited a few days, and then made a call. No answer at first, just silence. Then, 3 days later, I got a call back. His voice was gruff, but steady. He laughed when I told him the HOA was using his land for their road without permission. I refused to sell them that strip, he said. They lowballed me. Figured it was my little act of protest. Well, that was enough for me. He didn't trust the HOA any more than I did. So, I asked him if he'd be willing to sell it to me. Sure, he said. I'd like to see someone local use it to put those HOA people in their place. And that's how I ended up buying the land, just like that. The deal was simple. He faxed over the paperwork, I had it notarized, and within a week, the land was mine. It didn't feel real at first. I stood out there one morning, coffee in hand, staring at the cracked asphalt cutting right through my property. Karen and her whole neighborhood had been driving across my land every single day without even knowing it. The irony hit me. Karen had blocked a public trail on her property, claiming she needed peace and quiet, and now she was driving across my land, totally oblivious. But I wasn't trying to cause trouble. Not yet, anyway. I wasn't out to hurt anyone, but I needed to make a point. So I started small. I put up 2 modest signs on either side of the road. Nothing crazy, just a simple statement. Private property, entry by permission only. And below that, in smaller print, landowner contact info available at county clerk's office. That was it. I wasn't blocking access, just letting people know this road was no longer theirs to use freely. It didn't take long for the HOA to notice. Someone posted a picture of one of the signs on Facebook. "What the heck is this?" the caption read. The comments exploded. Some people thought it was a prank. Others thought the county was planning to build something. But Karen? Well, Karen wasn't having it. She claimed it was vandalism and threatened to call the sheriff. So, of course, the deputy came over. I'd met him before. He was the same guy who had to untangle that paramedic fiasco a while back. When he saw the sign and the deed, he raised an eyebrow. "Technically," he said, "you can do a lot more than just put up signs." He wasn't wrong. He warned me Karen was probably going to escalate things, but as long as I wasn't blocking traffic, I was fine. Not long after, Karen came storming over from her house. She looked like she was ready to explode. "What do you think you're doing?" she yelled from across the road. I just pointed at the sign. "My land, my rules," I said. I knew Karen wouldn't back down. I figured it was time for the next step. I installed a simple barriera swinging arm gate, the kind you see on Forest Service roads. It wasn't locked, just positioned to slow people down. I posted a formal notice on the road, giving the HOA 72 hours to reach out about a formal access agreement. In exchange, I would reopen the trail and even set up a community calendar for trail cleanups. Sounded fair, right? But Karen wasn't having it. She called an emergency HOA meeting and declared I was holding the neighborhood hostage. She tried to rally the residents to fight me in court, but cracks were starting to show. Some homeowners began asking questions. Why hadn't the HOA secured the road in the first place? Why hadn't they spent money on confirming their legal access before building the trail gate? The situation only escalated from there. Karen filmed herself driving up to the gate, slamming on the brakes, and acting like she couldn't pass. She posted it on the neighborhood Facebook group with the caption, "This is what tyranny looks like." Of course, I had my own footage. I screen recorded her video, added footage from the paramedic incident, and posted it on Reddit with the title, HOA Karen Meets Land Karma. It blew up overnight. Karen, furious and desperate, tried to get ahead of the public backlash by reaching out to me behind her back. The HOA board members wanted to negotiate a compromise. They were worried about home values dropping. I agreed to meet with them on my property, of course. Karen wasn't invited. But, naturally, she showed up anyway, pacing outside the gate like a mall cop on patrol. The board apologized for Karen's unauthorized trail gate and promised to investigate. I laid out my terms: remove the gate, restore trail access, and issue a community apology. In return, I'd grant a renewable road easement agreement with no annual fee. It should have ended there. But Karen wasn't interested in peace. The next morning, I received a cease and desist letter in my mailbox. She accused me of impeding public infrastructure and threatened legal action. The letter was printed on HOA letterhead without approval from the board. I sent a copy to the county legal office, and they responded with a formal review request for both the road access and Karen's unauthorized gate. Karen, now under scrutiny from all angles, doubled down. She tried getting the neighborhood to sign a petition demanding eminent domain over my property. That's when I decided to go public. I wrote a calm, fact-based post explaining everything: how the trail was illegally blocked, how I legally purchased the access road, and how I offered a peaceful resolution. I included county documents, Karen's texts, and footage of the trail gate blocking emergency responders. It went viral, and that was when things really started to shift. Neighbors who had been silent began to reach out. People started questioning Karen's authority. She had built a gate to control a trail, but I had bought a road to defend a principle. Karen's control started slipping, and the community began waking up. But the story didn't end there. Karen was relentless. She filed complaints with the zoning board and tried spreading rumors that I was turning the trail into a private campground. Then, one day, I found a wooden structure set up on the trail, claiming to be a security checkpoint for HOA residents. I didn't hesitate. I posted a picture online, and the internet exploded. People started mocking her. The county responded quickly, and the structure was removed. Weeks went by, and Karen's behavior became even more erratic. She tried accusing me of running a business on public land. When the HOA board confronted her, she had no proof. But she still wouldn't back down. That was when I organized a Trail Appreciation Day, something the community could rally behind. The event was a huge success. The county unveiled a new wooden trailhead sign, and people from the neighborhood came out to celebrate. It was my way of reclaiming the trail, not just for me, but for everyone. And through all of it, Karen watched from behind her blinds. She didn't show up. Her house eventually went up for sale, and I couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. The trail she tried to destroy was now boosting the value of her property. I watched realtors bring people by, but none of them stayed long. Karen was gone, but the story didn't end there. The neighborhood was different now, more united. People who had once kept their distance started reaching out. There was laughter, a renewed sense of community. The trail was no longer just a pad hit, was a symbol of resilience. But the thing that stuck with me the most? It wasn't the gate coming down or Karen moving away. It was the note I found in my mailbox one morning. A single sheet of paper, a key attached. The note read, "I was wrong. You were right. Use this however you want." It was signed with just the letter K. Maybe she had finally learned something, or maybe she just didn't want to deal with me anymore. Either way, it was a moment of peace. The key? It was to the trail gate she'd installed, the one that had caused so much chaos. I hung it in my shed, next to a photo of Max, my dog, wearing his trail guide bandana. The fight was over. The trail was open, the gate was gone, and the community had healed. Sometimes, it's not about winning. It's about standing firm, doing what's right, and letting the truth shine through. So what do you think? Was Karen right to fight for control, or did I do the right thing by standing up for the trail? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, share your perspective, and don't forget to hit that like button. Let's keep this conversation going.